If you're new to poker, adding the squeeze play to your pre-flop arsenal is a very good idea. The goal of this video is to teach you how to properly use this squeeze play in Texas Holdem. The content in this video covers what is a squeeze play, where we look at an example, when do you use it, how should you use it, and some post-flop advice. So, what is a squeeze play? Let's have a look. The player on the cutoff open raises to 2 big blinds. In this late position, we can be fairly certain that this player is opening a wide range. That's requirement number 1. The player on the button doesn't have a full stack and is likely a weak player. When he calls the pre-flop opener's raise, he's not only having a wide range, he's also having a capped range, since he would be re-raising his strongest hands. This gives us a great opportunity to squeeze from the small blind. Why this works is because the pre-flop opener has a wide range and can only defend against our bluff with his stronger hands, since he has to worry about the player left to act behind him. And the player left to act not only has a wide range, he also has a capped range, which makes it difficult for him to defend as well. And playing post-flop with a capped range in a re-raised pot will be very tricky. In this case, he happened to be in position, which makes things a little bit easier for him. Still, it's a great squeeze play spot for us. A good sizing, which I'll talk more about later, is a minimum of 4 times the original raise. We make it just that here. The original pre-flop raiser folds and the weak player on the button calls. The flop is very dry here, we have no showdown value, and we have a runner-runner flush draw, and we can pick up a straight draw as well on the turn. So a very clear spot for us to continuation bet here. Question is how much. If we had a strong hand in this situation, given that the player on the button doesn't have a full stack, we don't have to bet this very big to get it all in by the river. So a continuation bet here of slightly over third pot is big enough. And the player folds. So, to make things even clearer, let's have a look at exactly at when you want to squeeze. The important factors are the following. The original raiser has a wide range. The caller or the caller's range is wide or weak. Or the caller is simply a weak player and you have position on him, making it easy for you to play post-flop if he does call. The players should be likely to fold their weak hands to a raise. If they defend you too much, then this play won't be profitable enough. You have a tight image is something that can really help you gain more fold equity, but this doesn't have to be the case. The stack sizes are also important. In tournaments, it's often the case that you can 3-bet shove as a squeeze play, and you have even more fold equity then, since the other players usually have to call for their tournament life. If you're in a situation where the stacks are slightly deeper, especially in a cash game, this happens very often, you need to make sure that you are deep enough to fold to a 4-bet if you're bluffing. It also helps having few players left to act behind you. The ideal spot to squeeze is usually on the big blind. Don't squeeze too much if you're deep, if you're uncomfortable playing post-flop with weaker hands. So, how do you squeeze? Well, let's first look at which hands are best to bluff with here. Low suited aces and kings are good because they have blocker value and they give you an ability to flop a pretty strong pair or a draw. They're also good hands to 5-bet bluff with for the same reasons. Other good hands to bluff with are sort of mid-suited hands, such as 8-6 suited, 10-9 suited. They have good playability in boards that misses your opponent's calling range, and also that misses your own value range, so it gives you pretty good board coverage. Low pocket pairs can also be good bluffing hands. Whenever calling is the worst option, they will be easy to play post-flop when called. Pretty much if you hit a set or if the flop is very dry, you can bet, or you can play, if you hit a set, you can play a big pot. If the flop is dry, you can continuation bet. If not, you can easily get away from the hand. They're also decent to 5-bet bluff with, since if you do get called on your 5-bet, a pocket pair has a fairly good equity against your opponent's ace-king, ace-queen type hands. In terms of bet sizing, the minimum should be 4 to 5 times the original raiser when you're 3-handed. If there are any antes on the table, then the minimum should be 5 times the original raise. If there are more than one caller, meaning if there are more than 3 players total in the pot, including yourself, add another big blind to your raise for each additional caller. So let's look at some math here to see how often a squeeze play needs to work. The scenario is this: the cutoff opens to 3 big blinds, call from the small blind, and you re-raise to 12 big blinds from the big blind. The pot odds are that you risk 11 big blinds, since you already have the big blind posted, in order to win 7 big blinds, which are the cutoff opens to 3 big blind and the small blinds called plus your big blind. This gives you a required success rate of 61% to yield an immediate profit. Since you will get called sometimes and you will have equity on certain flops, this needs to work slightly less than 61%, but aiming at a figure of about 60% folds as a minimum is fine, and it gives you some margin as well for errors. Finally, let's look at some advice for post-flop play. When to bluff is when you have equity, when the board misses your opponent's calling range, and your opponent usually calls your squeeze plays with some mid-pocket pairs and Broadway hands such as Queen Jack, King Jack suited, Ace Jack. Dry flops, since it will be difficult for your opponent to call. When you flop a strong draw on a board that also hits your opponent's calling range, this is a good opportunity for you to check raise. Not only do you balance your range here, because when you have pocket aces, for example, you can use this to check raise on the same kind of flop. When you have a low pocket pair that you're giving up with, you strengthening your checking range a bit, and your opponent has to worry about a check raise, so you might increase your chance of getting to showdown. And of course, when you do have a draw, this can improve your fold equity compared to if you're just betting out. It's a good idea to continue betting on later streets on cards that improves your equity and or are bad for your opponent's range. If this is not the case, it's fine to shut down. Which brings me to the next point. When do you give up, or when do you try to get a showdown? It's pretty simple, really. If you have no equity, or it's a board that hits your opponent's calling range, it's fine to just give up. Keep in mind the main reason why you do this play is to take down the pot pre-flop. When you have enough showdown value and there is a chance for you to get the showdown, there's no reason to start turning your hand into a bluff, especially if the board is one where you will have a difficult time getting folds. That's all from me. Good luck at the tables. Bye bye.